So if I can, one more thing, I want to go back to the whole anatomy trains thing for a moment too, because there's another question that I've always wanted to ask you, and we've never got a chance to chat about this. With the idea, this concept of these long fascial lines extending the whole length of the body, and obviously there are points along those pathways where those connective tissues are tethered to other things and other structures. And so my question is, like, do you know, is there any way to measure the degree of dissipation of those tensile forces, let's say, throughout the long line of a fascial connection, or has anybody done anything like that?
Yes, it's very clear that there's lots of dissipation to each side. When I have done the anatomy trains, I'm trying to be very clear about this all the time, that these are just one set of fascial connections going through the body. If you just grab your lower leg in your hand, you're holding all the connections from the gastrocnemius to the soleus to the deep posterior compartment. All the compartments there are all tied together as one. And when you go up for a basketball jump and you come down, Achilles tendon is not taking all that weight. It's not strong enough to. The body is not a strain focusing machine, it's a strain distributing machine. So that strain distributes over sideways from muscle group to muscle group, and a lot of that is dissipated. I think the anatomy trains, being long things, really lend themselves more to a postural analysis, a long-term change in the spine, long-term changes in the hips in relationship to the feet, more than to the functional stuff. I've been very gratified that trainers and other people in the movement world have found it useful. But my own self, I think its best application is to these kinds of postural things that Rolfing is supposed to address itself to.
I'm remembering a conversation we had in Maine last time, and I was ribbing you a little bit about, why didn't you call it anatomy trees or anatomy branches? Why are they lines? What is this long line thing when, the figure that's tossed around is 30%. 30% of a muscle's pull is distributed to surrounding structures as opposed to the bone it's attached to.
Yep, as opposed to at the other end of the muscle attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But long-term strains, the question before the house, because Whitney was just right, we call the muscle parts tracks, and the parts where it tacks down onto the deeper layer as stations. So to emphasize the continuity of the train. Now, how much is transferred over the head of the fibula from the peroneal compartment, which is a tube about the size of a straw, just a bit bigger than a straw. Look at Robert Schleip's section of it. How much of that strain is distributed over the head of the fibula to what? To the, could be either the iliotibial band, which also comes to the fibula, or could be the short head of the biceps or the biceps femoris in general. That is a question that researchers are starting to answer. Jan Bilke in his has been doing this work really nicely, slowly, carefully. He did a literature search and found the superficial back line, but can't find the superficial front line. So now if there is transmission along these lines by ultrasound and other methods.